Jupiter square Chiron is really a transit, which is all about healing. This transit is really all about the expansion that it takes to be able to then heal, to be able to transcend all of the negative aspects of our lives, of all of that kind of thing, and bring it into something with form, bring it into something with an appreciation for all of the healing that needs to be done, all the wounds that needs to happen, all of those kind of things like that. So in this episode of the Cosmic Sky Podcast, I'm going to be talking about Jupiter square Chiron in signs of Leo and Taurus, happening exact on July 1st. I do believe, yes, this is exact on July 1st is when this aspect is absolutely exact. So it is exact July 1st, where Jupiter in Leo, it has just entered Leo. It's exact in Leo at 0 degrees, and then Chiron in Taurus is at 0 degrees, so they're forming a square with each other. And so, first of all, I'm doing this video on the 28th. I plan to do it on the 29th, but Mercury is stationing retrograde tomorrow, and the very last time that Mercury is stationing retrograde, the video that I did, had the sound cut out, and I don't think that was the technology I was using to convert the audio into a video. So I'm just kind of taking this precaution so that I do not have, because Mercury rules technology and those kind of things, I'm taking this precaution so that I don't have any difficulty tomorrow with the sound potentially going out. Because around Mercury stations, it can be where there's a lot of technical difficulties and a lot of things like that, and that's just what happened the last time. And lo and behold, that video was published on the day that Mercury was stationed to go retrograde. So, when Mercury is standing still, everything is heightened, and so I will be giving you your 12 sign forecast probably. I want to say on June 30th, I'm going to take sort of a day off doing this, and then I'm going to come back fresh and new on June 30th to give the 12 sign forecast for this particular aspect and transit. So delving into Jupiter square Chiron, it's the first aspect actually going on July 1st. In July, the first one that I'm going to be discussing here. And this has not been the first square. The previous one occurred on October 23rd of 2025. And that happened in the signs of Chiron in Aries, Jupiter in Cancer. They met at 24 degrees of their signs. Jupiter is at 24 degrees of Cancer, and Chiron at 24 degrees of Aries. So that's what I want to discuss right from the get-go. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So, Jupiter in astrology is the biggest planet in the solar system. It is 1,000 times the size of Earth. It is known as, in traditional astrology, Hellenistic astrology, the Great Benefic. It brings all kinds of blessings and new opportunities and abundance, and it is about growth and expansion and all of that. Brings about good luck. And it's the planet of luck. Like wherever Jupiter is in your natal birth chart, that's an area where you gain luck. in whatever house it's in your birth chart, in that area of life, you gain a lot of opportunity in that luck. And then, Jupiter in, Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer gives certain luck in that sign, and then Jupiter in Aries certain luck in another sign. It's all relative. So, it gives wisdom. Jupiter is about wisdom. It's really all about the higher meaning of life, where you can gain a greater sense of living your life. And it's the principle of expansion. Wherever Jupiter goes, it expands what it touches. So Jupiter expands everything that it touches. It expands it. It opens it up. It wants to embellish. It wants to make it bigger. It wants to blow it up. That kind of thing like that. So Jupiter can expand both what is positive about that sign or that transit, or it's a positive aspect. It can expand the positive side of that. But Jupiter can also expand the negatives. It can expand what is negative. It could expand the shadow qualities of that planet. So if it's Jupiter in Gemini, then it expands mind, communication. It expands maybe the more sort of flaky, spontaneous, fickle, all over the place side of Gemini that goes in multiple directions at once, but also the communication element of Gemini. And if you want to go all the way back to May 4th, that is when I did the Jupiter in Gemini video in the birth chart. If you want to go back in this podcast and check that out. All the Jupiter videos, by the way, are in this podcast, including a video that I did last month on Jupiter, the planet Jupiter in astrology. So, Jupiter can also expand what is a more negative manifestation of that sign involved, of that, placement involved. And Chiron is known as the wounded healer. It rules our wounds, our place where we are easily hurt, the place that we need healing, the place that we need our wounds to be healed, and all those kind of things to be healed inside of us. That's what it rules. So, Chiron rules over wounds, rules over all these kind of wounds that we have, and it heals the wounds. It is about healing through these wounds, and sometimes, we're all wounded healers, aren't we? We all have our wounds, we all have our insecurities and what we need to heal inside of ourselves, and what sort of patterns and ways of being in trauma or betrayal or shame that we need to heal within our own Chiron story that is representative of the Chiron placement in transit or aspects that is made to your natal Chiron in your birth chart. So, okay. And whenever I do that in these videos, I always have phlegm in my throat. So when you hear that, it's phlegm. I'm not trying to make a noise. I'm not trying to be disruptive or add a disruption just for the sake of having disruption. I'm intentionally doing that because to clear the phlegm that gets in my throat sometimes when I do these videos. So excuse me if I do that at times. So anyway, Chiron rules over healing. And it represents the space where you are wounded. That's what it can easily be. And so Chiron is about working with your wounds and not pushing them down, not forcing them under, but using them as a source of strength, as your strength, and really, really working with the wounds, integrating them, living with them, etc. So this is what Chiron rules, in astrology, are these wounds. And so Chiron brings up the wounds that need to be released, that need to be healed. Chiron brings this up, brings things to our attention, brings things that we didn't consider before, that we didn't think about before. And it invites us to consider the wisdom that lies inside of our wounds, inside of our own personal story with our Chiron and our wounds and whatever we're experiencing. So it does ask us to really, really find the healing, find the remedy, find the wisdom inside of our wounds. Find what we do well, what we experience well with what we experience on a wounded level, with what we can gain as kind of, the golden, wisdom of whatever we're doing. So emotions can feel really, really big during this time. Jupiter magnifies everything. Jupiter expands everything, as I said. Jupiter makes everything bigger. So it can feel at this time like our emotional nature and emotional selves are bigger. And, bigger in terms of life, that kind of a thing. So Chiron asks us deeply to look at the painful wounds and be willing to look at these wounds dead in the eye, facing up to them, facing the wounds, healing what you need to heal, doing all that kind of thing. Face up to it. Facing up to the wounds, looking at it, not denying it, not pushing it under, but facing it in kind of ways. So, and not avoiding the wound. Also, not avoiding that wound, not avoiding that space inside of us that has a wound, that has something that needs to be healed, but to look at it deeply, honestly, to face the truth that you're afraid to face about it. Now, Chiron helps us to get ourselves back in touch with ourselves. It helps to get ourselves back into harmony and equilibrium and in tandem with ourselves. It connects us to ourselves. This is what Chiron does. Integration is really what Chiron wants for us, is to integrate all of our wounds going on underneath the surface of what we need to face, of what's going on with us emotionally, spiritually, and making sure that all those wounds we come into wholeness with these wounds. They're not just separate pieces of us, that's just separate. So Jupiter and fragmented, like Chiron wants to merge the fragments into one cohesive whole, ultimately. Jupiter can be incredibly overly optimistic at times. It can have faith in a dime dropping. It can have faith in the most wildest possibilities, and it lacks grounding in reality. And you're so overly optimistic. You have such high hopes, such high faith, that you're not grounded in reality with that hope. I can fly to the moon, I can do all this. This is going to work out when it's not going to work out. So, and sanctimonious. There's a sanctimonious quality with Jupiter, thinking that you are better than others, being arrogant, intellectually arrogant, that you are superior than others, thinking that your beliefs and your truth and your philosophies are better than your fellow man, than other people in your life and other people in your close circle and your surroundings and whatever. So this is a time which asks us deeply to expand our mind. Because Jupiter rules expansion. Jupiter rules expanding the mind. And can we be open to new ideas and possibilities? Can we be open to all these new things? All these new realizations and revelations and this and that? Can we look at the painful places that need healing? Can we look at where in our lives we need healing? What are the sore spots for us? What are the vulnerable places? What are the vulnerable pieces of us? That's what we need to look at. What beliefs and ideas mislead you? That you're going down in a certain path and then the road curves and forms and the ground comes out from under you. And your beliefs and ideas, you have these beliefs and ideas. But then you all of a sudden come across an experience, one experience, and those beliefs get a little bit of a shock to the system, a wake-up call, a disruption, where having those beliefs are leading you down the wrong path, where reevaluation, redirection, reflection on these beliefs need to take place. Something may happen to us that challenges our beliefs. That may be the case. Something may happen to us on that level that really makes us come up against anything regarding our beliefs. So anything that challenges these beliefs, that may come up during this time, around July 1st. As soon as Jupiter enters Leo, it forms its square to Chiron, and our beliefs are looked into the microscope and analyzed to death. Feelings like others don't understand you could surface, like these feelings around this time, like others don't get you. Others don't understand you, where you come from with your beliefs. Others do not see where you come from, what you believe, what you understand, what your opinions are, what your philosophy is over life. And again, this feeling like you're not understood comes in really, really strongly here. Like others are not seeing where you're coming from. Others are not seeing perspective. There may be this rediscovery of our needs and beliefs. This rediscovery of what we need and how what we believe affects what we need, what we believe interferes with what we need also. Does what we believe get us closer to what we need, or does it just hinder us? Like we are going to be really, really looking at this deeply at this time. So we are rediscovering with Jupiter through Chiron these needs and how they are serving us, how they are not serving us. And these beliefs, whether they're serving us or not. So we could form new beliefs. We could shed old beliefs and form new beliefs. So we have, before we can expand, before we can enjoy life, before we can take advantage of all the blessings of life, we have to do the healing work prior to that. We have to heal. We have to, work on ourselves. We have to look at the wound dead in the eye and face it before we can have the expansion, before we can have the philosophy, before we can have the good feelings, the good, experiences in our lives, we have to have that healing being put in place here. So, couple other things with this transit is, where are we on the path of spiritual bypass? Where are we bypassing ourselves in regards to this? Where are we bypassing where we need to go? What we need to do, what we need to understand and undertake. And so, can we not choose to look, where we're not choosing to look at the spot where we need to look at it. We're not choosing to face the issue that we need to face and come to terms with it. That's what spiritual bypass is, and I think it's important to define spiritual bypass here. The use of ideas and practices to avoid dealing with pain, wounds, difficult truths that we need to face. So we are bypassing ourselves spiritually, emotionally, and we're not choosing to look at what needs to be looked at. We're not choosing to face that truth. So what do we need to look at deeply? What do we need to face in our lives? Now, with Jupiter and Leo and Chiron and Taurus, healing could be a lot around abundance. What makes us feel prosperous? That's a question we could deeply ask ourselves. What makes us feel abundant? What makes us feel joy? What makes us feel good? Or what makes us feel prosperous and grateful for what we need in our life? To travel around the 9 yards and hit a fence post and enjoy that victory of where you've been. To go in the closet and to be able to hang up all those clothes and celebrate your victory with that. Could be victories. Could also be the basic things. Or that's what I'm going to get to, because we're really, really looking at our sense of abundance. The thing about this is, and I gained this insight off of a really, really good astrology video by the astrologer Haley Comet Astrology. I want to give credit where credit is due. Her video on Chiron and Taurus was very, very detailed, very masterfully said, masterfully done. I highly recommend that you check out that video of Chiron and Taurus and that transit. And she was talking about this square being a time of where we're understanding that true wealth, true inherent, what she was saying about wealth is that wealth, we're separating out from true wealth is not showing off the fancy cars or the fancy dresses, or look at me, I have all this stuff, or look at all this, really, really being very, very egoic and superficial, materialistic, and showing off how rich my life is and how luxurious my life is. It can be where that's not what it truly is. True wealth is an inner feeling of satisfaction, an inner feeling of abundance inside of you, and isn't based on how many material possessions that you have. So wealth to inner wealth is a sense of feeling prosperous and abundant inside of you, not based off of the external wealth. I think that the redefinition of that is what we're going to be having a lot of during this time. So, how have we felt wounded with not being able to also, because Jupiter's in Leo, it rules the heart. So connecting with our heart's joy, connecting with that part of ourselves, the joyful, loving part of ourselves. So, How we felt like, felt wounded with not being able to connect to the joy of our hearts. That's really what it can easily be. Where we felt cut off from that, what we want on an emotional level. We may be caught in the glitz and the glam during this time, and we may struggle to ground down into earth with what we're feeling, with what we're experiencing. Grounding into earth, grounding into the simple things, to the simple pleasures. I mean, that's really what we need to consider, is the simple pleasures of life. We don't need all this fancy stuff and all this money and all these possessions to feel wealthy, to feel abundant. We just don't need it. Can we focus on the simple pleasures? What give us, what sustains us, what nourishes us, what keeps us alive, what makes us feel good inside of our body. Like, we don't need all of these fancy things that we can buy with money, all the ego delights, to make ourselves feel happy and joyful on a soul level. The soul doesn't need a whole lot to be happy. That's the truth of it. So can we satisfy our souls and not give in to our egoic demands of all the material world, getting on a high about the material life and this and that? But can we feel good? Because we feel good on a soul level. We feel abundant inside of ourselves on a soul level, not because of the highs of this fancy car or this fancy clothes item that we bought, or this fancy new couch that we bought. I mean, all of these big expensive things at this time. So, that could really be looked at. Now, we could challenge the beliefs that we have. We could challenge our beliefs. This is a transit which asks us to challenge what we truly believe about ourselves and about life. Because we may go along believing something, and we may think differently another time. We may feel differently because we have a change of heart about that. Any wound you have can have you growing from it. What is the wisdom inside the wound? With how painful it is, how hard it is. What is the wisdom in the wound? What kind of wisdom can you gain from that wound? That's what I'm asking you. Now, you could have confusion with this going on. There could be this confusion with questioning your beliefs, like, is this really true for me? Is this going to help me along my pathway? Is this a sustainable long-term belief? I mean, is this belief well suited for me? Do I really feel aligned with this belief or not? Like, do I feel free with this belief? Do I feel held back with the belief? Like, look at limiting beliefs. In maybe circumstances which may rub up against the wound and rub up against the healing beliefs at this time, which need the work and need the attention, need the care. So know where you aren't that expansive. Where Chiron asks you, ultimately in the process of Chiron and healing your wounds, the word that comes to my mind is humility. Knowing that you're not, all perfect and all great and all this. You have shadows. You have your stuff to deal with. You have your wounds. You have your, your hurts, your shame, your grief, and all these kind of things. I think that when we are in the process of healing, we are humbled and we are humble. So, can we be humbled in these positive ways, and can you guide others with philosophical wisdom from this wounded place inside of you? Can you guide others on the path of wisdom? Not expecting yourself to be totally healed already, but helping others to heal, guiding others to become more focused on their own healing, their own joy. Can you, as you heal, can you inspire others and help others to heal their wounds? Like I say, I know how tough it is, but you can work through this, and I'm going to help you work through this as I heal my own, stuff. So, that is what I want to say for the overview of Chiron, Jupiter square Chiron. This has been half an hour. This half an hour discussion, one of my shorter videos. I'm going to see you back on the 30th, I do believe, for your Chiron square Jupiter for all 12 signs. It'll be interesting how cobble together ratings for you in regards to this. But so, tune in for that video, coming up 2 days from now, again. So, so I think that's what I'll plan on doing. I have an appointment tomorrow, so maybe I will take the day off, potentially do other things. Maybe I'll do a video here and there, I don't know, but I'm not planning to do any podcasts tomorrow. So, anyway, this is your podcast for tomorrow. This would have been the podcast that I would have done tomorrow, but I'm doing it today. So, I hope that you enjoyed this. Hope you found some value out of it, and I will see you in the next episode of the Cosmic Sky podcast. Take care.